Hey guys, so you might have noticed a very small change in my background if you've been paying attention. Recently, my For You page has been full of just people altering their clothes, DIY projects, but namely thrift flips. And because I'm a fairly simple person, I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that too. Because if you really think about it, the Pinterest board, a few thrifted clothes from Vinted or any other secondhand website, and a sewing machine or just in general sewing skills make like the perfect recipe for unique yet cheap clothes. So that's why last month I got this bad boy. So this is the Brother CS10S, which is a computerized machine. And obviously this is not sponsored, because who do you think I am? Trying to find the right sewing machine very much feels like trying to find a cute basic at a store that doesn't have some kind of corny ass print on the back. Because whenever you think you found the right machine, there's always some small detail that might seem insignificant, but is not at all insignificant and will affect how much you enjoy the process of using your sewing machine. So that's why I'm very glad I ended up with this machine right over here. And again, this is not me glazing this machine for money. I am not sponsored. This is just my own experience. But I think it does a pretty good job of what it's supposed to do, which is sewing. Granted, I've only had this machine for like a month or so we'll see if that changes in the near future. But getting into the bread and butter of this video, I'm going to be showing you all of the things I altered and sewed in my first month of sewing. And this is exclusively going to be things I altered because yes, you're kind of supposed to start with simple stuff like making a tote bag or a makeup pouch or stuff like that. But instead of doing that, I just immediately grabbed everything I could find from my closet and did some altering. And that's what I'm going to be showing you today. So let's get right into it. So starting off with a small disclaimer, I actually wanted to show befores and afters for all of the things I altered, but the problem was that at the time of sewing, whatever I was sewing, I didn't really have the idea to film a video. So for some of these, I only have afters and not a before picture. And that's why I'm gonna draw the before pictures. So like I said, this is what the first one looked like. So it was this gray long sleeve type of shirt that had this really awkward length and that I actually wore in middle school or elementary school, or my sister might have worn it, I don't know. But the point is, it had been sitting in my closet for who knows how long, but I wanted to do something with the pattern on the front because I thought it had so much potential. So that's why I turned it into this. I watched a tutorial on how to make a cami, or I might have watched multiple, and it did take some trial and error, but I think in the end it turned out pretty well. When you ignore the uneven stitching on the inside because I couldn't thread my bobbin the right way onto like the sewing project, so I guess you could say this shirt is a full-on Monet. So after I unknowingly went all in with project number 1, I decided to turn it down a notch with project number 2. You know, like I should have done from the beginning. I had this Junji Ito shirt that I bought in like 2021 or so, and I realized that I hadn't worn it in a hot minute, so I decided to do something with it. So that's why I turned it into this. I cut off the collar, took in the waist a bit, and I only altered the sleeves a bit just because I didn't know how to make them smaller at that point in time. And in general, I'm really happy that I decided to do something with this, just because, like I said, the graphic looks so cool and it'd be such a waste to not have done anything with it. And because I also want people to know how cool I am by wearing it, but that's a completely different conversation. By the time I wanted to make my third sewing project, I was very much into sewing. Like, I spent the entire day sewing stuff and I was scrambling to find any sort of old clothing pieces that I didn't need anymore to turn into something new. So that's why I looked through some of my old stuff and some of my mom's old stuff, with her permission, of course, don't flame me, and I found this in her closet. So it was a pink long sleeve that was a little bit too big on me, but I thought it would look way better as a t-shirt. But not just any t-shirt, but one of those Y2K tight-fitting t-shirts you see on Pinterest all the time. So that's what I did. And I didn't even realize that I kind of challenged myself with this one unknowingly. So before I get into what I did, here's the before, like I said, and here's the after. So this is kind of exactly what I pictured. What I did first was to obviously watch tutorials, and then I cut off the sleeves, I cinched the waist, and I used another shirt as a reference. So that means I laid my project onto the reference shirt and traced out some new sleeves, and then I reattached those sleeves to the armholes after obviously adjusting them so everything would fit. And let me tell you, my brain could just not comprehend how to sew on sleeves without the seams somehow showing or without it looking like I just slapped them on. But thanks to this one creator on TikTok, thanks to this one tutorial, if I can find it, I'll put it on the screen, I finally figured it out. It was still kind of tedious, I'm not gonna lie about that, but at least you don't see the seam anymore, and it looks pretty good, I think. It looks fine. And now moving on to what was probably my favorite find from my mom's closet. So here's before. It was like a tank top that had a t-shirt sewn onto the inside, and the moment I laid my eyes onto that shirt, I just knew how much potential it had. Okay, in the picture, the t-shirt tank top combo might look cute, but trust me when I say that it's not. It didn't look cute in real life. So I had to fix it. My plan was just to get rid of the t-shirt part and turn it into a cami by itself. So that's what I did, obviously. I just cut out the t-shirt part, and I also adjusted the straps because they were a bit too loose and too long for my liking. And here's the end result. I think my favorite part of the shirt are the buttons, just because I feel like they give the shirt a whimsical vibe, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. And I also need more colorful stuff in my closet, so this green is coming in clutch. This next one is also a personal favorite of mine, and again, shout out to my mom for having so many pieces with so much potential. I appreciate you, you're doing the most. Anywho, I don't really have a before picture, but this is kind of what it looked like. It was a turtleneck dress with these really, really cool sleeves, and so I turned that into this. I actually got the inspo from one of my Pinterest boards because I've been wanting to buy one of those striped sweaters in gray and black for so long, and I just made it myself, which is kind of cool. My main idea was to make an off-the-shoulder sweater, so that meant I had to make it shorter, which is why I cut off some of the bottom and hemmed it. But for some reason, my overly ambitious ass was trying to make one of those fold-over sweaters. Mind you, at that point, I had only sewed like 2.5 pieces, so obviously that didn't work. That's why I just turned it into a normal off-the-shoulder sweater, meaning I just cut off the collar, hemmed that, and left the shirt as is because the sleeves were already fine and I already took care of the bottom. But all in all, even though I was very hesitant to get started on this project just because I thought I would do this whole thing with a fold-over part and who knows what else I was thinking, but in the end, it turned out to be a pretty simple process, and I really liked the end result. And unfortunately, or fortunately for some of you, that was all I had for you today. If you're wondering why I showed only before and after pictures instead of the process, that's just because I realized that I don't really like filming myself doing stuff, like for example, sewing or drawing. Yes, I used to do that before, but I realized that it kind of drags out the process. Instead of just focusing on drawing, I'd have to worry about getting the perfect angle, setting up my phone the right way, looking somewhat presentable. And I know some of you might say, you don't have to worry about that, you can just be your real authentic self or something. But I'm a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like this, and I tend to overthink. So I don't know if that's something I could just do that easily right off the bat, maybe in the future. But as of right now, we'll just have to make do with snippets, before pictures and after pictures, or anything in between, I don't know. Anyways, like always, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye!